to SME Heartbeats, raw stories, bold futures, your go-to podcast for the untold tales of entrepreneurship and innovation. I'm Sanka Kankiti, here to illuminate the extraordinary journey of small and medium-sized businesses with you. With over 95% of companies worldwide falling into the SME category, that includes SMBs as well, and creating 70% of jobs, it's clear. These companies aren't just businesses, they're the very backbone of our society. Yet in a world where 67% of these businesses struggle and half won't see their 5th anniversary, their stories often go untold. It's time to change. SME Heartbeats is more than a podcast. It's a mission to spotlight the unsung champions of our global village. Together, we'll explore their challenges, celebrate their triumphs, and learn from their journeys. Remember, every time we choose to spend $1, we're voting on the world we want to live in. So join me as we cast our votes for a world that uplifts and supports the heart and soul of our economy, the SMBs and the SMEs. Let's go far together. Hi, welcome to SME Heartbeats. Today, we'll be talking to Holly Blair. Now, Holly has an organization called Engineering Possibilities. What she won't tell you is just how she has the superpower of making lean fun. We have people who are really starting to consider, I think I may really want to do this and not just let it be a dream, that are at that point that you just described. So it's nice to see. It's nice to be able to walk with you through that journey.
Yeah, it took me about 3 years to get through it all. But once I committed to it, then I had to learn. So I knew how to do lean. I knew how to be an engineer, but I knew nothing about marketing or how to all the business side of things. I had to figure out how to go about all of that. So I've done a lot of trial and error and research, learning. I now have a pretty solid content marketing strategy that generates things. I'm really active on LinkedIn, and there's just a world of expertise that I never needed when I was just working as an engineer at the plant.
Very true. Would you consider that some of the significant challenges or turning points in your career or in this path to entrepreneurship? Or are there other ones that seem to have a bigger impact on this journey?
There's probably two main ones. The first one is that marketing piece, and running a consulting practice is, I swear, it's more like 80% marketing, 20% doing what I do. and the pull is to want to do what I do because I love it and it's fun and that. But if I don't create the pipeline of people coming in, there's no work to do. And so it's causing myself to have that marketing piece become something fun and something I enjoy doing. And then the other one is really, it's always been something I do professionally, but it can kind of become a bit of a hobby if I tell the truth about it. It's something I play around with, something I'm messing with, experimenting with, trying, versus being
very engineer-like.
Yeah. Versus being just, this is happening, committed to it, having it be and having it happen, and then having the mindset of an actual business owner, not someone who does the work. But being a solopreneur, it's I kind of have to have those two hats. So the one where I do the work is really comfortable and familiar. The one being the face of the business and the business owner and the adult making the decisions is really, it's sometimes I swear there'd be somebody else who would be accountable for these problems, but there is nobody else. It's me.
You look around and you're the only one in the room.
I'm the only one here, so I'm not sure who this someone else that I think will solve these business problems is, but to be big enough to own it all and to then project that out is really the only way that's going to be successful. Cool.
What do you believe is your unique edge in your industry?
I think it's an ability to walk into any kind of process, whether it's a manufacturing process or some kind of order fulfillment or even things that just happen online between people or departments and stuff. It's to be able to see what's in the way of being effective. That when you're in it, you just see what there is to do. And I can actually see what's missing and see what's in the way, see where the bottlenecks are, see where the breakdowns are in a process, and quickly come up with some really cost-effective, usually very low or no capital investment required. Just here, why don't you use this checklist, or let's pay attention to, let's track the performance of some metrics and some quality items, and then build actions from there. So it's really a collaborative approach. Like I don't walk into organizations and tell them what they need to do or how to do it. It's meeting them where they're at, and then co-creating some really effective solutions that are a match for the organization. And a lot of times that people think that they need like a big technology solution, and where they're at is an Excel spreadsheet is what they need. So
that's the aspiration, but today,
yeah, but where you're at is you can do that if you want to. If you want to spend tens of thousands of dollars, go for it. But you can do something simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be functional. And then as the whole system starts to work better, you can expand. And I love technology. I got nothing against it. Just when it doesn't match where an organization is at, that's where there's problems.
Very true. I think you make a good point. Oftentimes, it's one thing if you're going to get technology and you're going to you're going to understand it, mm-hmm. and then be able to implement it in a way that you're going to be able to be actionable with it. And then there's the other one, a little bit, as you said, where really you need to learn about the Excel spreadsheet. And any technology you put in, you end up using like these parallel, you stick to your status quo because the technology is so overwhelming, mm-hmm. that it's just not realistic. So I think that's a really good point. And I think there's quite a lot of organizations that are in that place right now. I think one of the key unique things that made me interested in you and your organization was really because a lot of times when people talk about efficiency, optimization, lean, there's a visceral reaction. It's almost like change management. There's that visceral reaction, and they're like, it feels heavy, or it feels painful, and some would say even boring, right?
Yeah.
But what made me really interested, where I was like, I need to know more about this person and her organization, is the fact that in the small moments that we've had to discuss and to talk about what you do and some of the things that you're trying out, they were really creative and really interesting. And do you think you could elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I try to make it fun. Like, I get really excited about process problems. I see them. I recently was at a client site in California, and I was in there. It was a millwork shop, and they're trying to be more efficient to grow the business. And I walked into their shop, and I was like, "This is like a playground. This is so much fun. Look what we can do." And they saw problems and issues and stuff, and I saw just pure opportunity and places where I could really make an impact. I was like, "Thanks for having me to your playground." But that's really like a distinct context that most people don't have when it comes to process improvement. And you get in the statistical analysis side, I agree, it can get boring and very nerdy very quickly. But yeah, some of the fun things, my favorite is probably the Lego simulation game I invented. It's called Chaos Racing, and you build Lego race cars. And it's the game is to make 30 race cars in 20 minutes, which doesn't sound that hard necessarily, except for the process in round one is very much designed to have you fail. So it's set up to
that's humbling.
Yeah, it's set up to mimic real world challenges. So you never have enough parts. Your assemblers are all scattered across the room. They're not in any particular order. There's a secret quality requirement that the race cars have to have all 4 the same color wheels. And there's 5 different colors of wheels that are in the mix. And they're all scattered through the game. People don't know what to take where when they're the forklift operators. The assembler numbers and the workstation numbers don't match, so they get really confused about where to take things. So it's designed to have them really not go well. not have things not go well in round one. So the game is to make 30 race cars in 20 minutes. You might make 3 in round one that pass quality. So from there, it's about a half-day exercise, and then I have 2 rounds of lean training where I introduce them to process waste, identifying the waste in the process. We map out the actual production process. We get clear about the quality requirements and the quota. There's also a certain number of different colors of wheels that they need to have, different types of tires. So we get that all sorted out, and we do some lean training, and then I have them do their own little Kaizen event where they get to spend 20 or 30 minutes and improve the process together as a team. So there's a lot of team building elements to this game too. We do that twice. So the second round of training is more about specific lean tools that you can apply, like Kanban and standard work, SMED, quick changeovers, and various other topics that they directly apply then to the simulation. So the outcome by the end of round 3 is teams can typically make all 30 race cars in under 5 minutes.
Yes, I love that. How does that guide your decision making for either who you work with, what you put out there in your marketing content? How do your values kind of affect the way that you're doing business and presenting your organization and yourself to the world?
Yeah, that's awesome. Good question. So I often look for organizations that make a really cool product or something I like, something that's interesting, something that contributes, makes a difference, and that are growing quickly. So they're the ones that may have grown faster than their processes. They're the ones that are still small enough that they're not going to go like hire Deloitte or something. And they're great, but they fit with a much larger organization than the small companies I usually work with. And then there's other ones that are purely out to reduce costs. And that's a reality of business. That is a thing. There's a lot of lean transformations that happen right before a merger or an acquisition to make the company look more attractive. And I've done a few of those. They're not always as my favorite because they do get very cost focused, and it can sometimes have the occurring that the people don't matter, and that's something that's really important to me. So when I do get into those cost reduction focused projects, I still try to bring the importance of people to the organization. And there's the business reality of what we're doing is we're making something and we're selling it, and we're out to make a profit. And if you have too many people doing inefficient work, then you start to impact your profit. So sometimes there are the tough decisions about people and productivity, but a lot of times, especially in the smaller organizations, they're already bare bones. They don't have a lot of excess fat in the organization. So it's about empowering the people that are there to do their jobs well and do it efficiently and effectively.
So who? I think we can tell from our conversation, but who do you think benefits the most from your work, and why?
I think the biggest opportunity lies with kind of small to mid-sized manufacturing operations that are big enough that they're profitable, they have enough staff, they have enough process, they have reliable sales, and they're able to deliver their products. So they're not a brand new company, they're not a startup, they've been around. A lot of family businesses I end up working with. And they grow to a certain point, and then they tap out at a certain level, and they want to go to the next level, and maybe they bring in a external non-family member leader for the first time. So those are companies that I work with, somewhere in the range of like 5 to 100 or 200 million in revenue, and it just depends on the price point of their product. So if it's a $100,000 product, you're going to sell more, so your revenue size will be higher, but maybe your volume is still low. So it's a bit of a balance there, but big enough that they have process problems and issues they need to deal with, and small enough that hiring one of the big 4 consulting companies is not in their budget.
Right. Or maybe they just want a more personalized experience.
Or that, yeah. And open for what's possible. So someone that's like dead set in how this goes, and I know everything, and this is how it is, and you should all do it this way. That's not the one I want to work with.
I think there's a clientele for the big four, so to
Yeah.
speak. However, as you said, when we start getting into, even if there's inefficiencies, these smaller organizations are still more agile than the enterprise level organizations, right? And so I think when you get into the big four and what have you, and I could say that because I'm allowed because I did work with them. I think they have models in place and ways of doing things and working with a client that is very specific, and very repeatable. And so when you have organizations that need a more unique approach or need a more creative, maybe outside of the lines kind of situation or approach to a challenge that they have, it becomes harder with some of these larger consulting firms.
Yeah, so it's about having the right size, and then the consultant's got to be a right fit too, so that it's as much me looking for them as it is them looking for me.
What would you say you represent as a consultant, or
creating possibilities, like finding the fun in it, in lean, looking for opportunity, and then following through and implementing. So a lot of consultants will just give the solutions, but my favorite projects are the ones where I get to stick around and contribute over time and actually fulfill on the transformation that we created.
So what would you say your proudest moment is in this journey?
Well, there's been different moments where I'm like flying to California or other places, and I'm going to go I led a Lego simulation there a couple of years ago, and I'm like, I really made this up. like there's such a tools. Like I created this, I invented this game, and now this company just paid me to get on an airplane with my Legos and fly to another country and play Lego with their employees. So those are always great little moments of like, I made this up in my kitchen / office. And now I have companies from all over North America who want to buy my Lego kits and use it in their own companies, and it's just an appreciation of like, I really created this company from nothing, from an idea, and built it up and out, and like there's still ways to go. Like it's definitely there's gaps in having clients and consistent revenue sometimes, and really building that pipeline up. But at the heart of it is I made it up and I invented it. So I remember.
So what would you say to someone as advice that is wanting or contemplating following a similar path?
Yeah, so what would I recommend to someone looking to follow the journey into consulting? First is to do some research, but to not think about it too long. See, that can be a bit of a trap, and I definitely got caught in that. The only thing that forwards life is action. So coming up with a good picture of the future you want to create, like what that looks like as an independent consultant or building a consulting firm, can really give yourself a picture of what life will look like, and then stand there and look backwards about what actions would you have taken to fulfill on that future. So for example, I knew I wanted to run a consulting company when I was afraid to find a new job. And I was dragging my feet and looking for other jobs. And when I told the truth to myself about that, then I was able to find a job that was still a job, but a lot closer to the consulting world. So working in the hospitals in Alberta for Alberta Health Services. But we were actually kind of consultants working on our different projects for different hospitals. And so that was a whole world of I didn't know nothing about. Particularly the project I did in the bone marrow transplant clinic. I knew nothing about anything those physicians were talking about.
I'm so glad you did, though, because efficiency for bone marrow in the healthcare industry, I think is kind of important.
It was a very cool, rewarding project. And then I was clear that I do not need to know how their actual process works if I can just create the structure for them to follow.
Yes.
But yeah, trusting yourself, getting some education on things that you're clear you don't know a lot about, like maybe marketing, hiring some resources to help you if you have the funds, and if not, then get dangerous and learn a few things until it's time to give it away to somebody else who might be better at it or more passionate about it than you. But there's some elements of the business like accounting and social media marketing and different business development tactics that are required for you to know and to play and play the game.
And so if anybody's interested in finding more about you or getting some of those common sense pills, how can they get in touch with you and find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, you can come check out my website. It's www.engineeringpossibilities.ca. And my email address is probably the best way to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn. And my email is holly.blair@engineeringpossibilities.ca.
Amazing. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and to share about all the really cool things that you're doing. I wish you the very best, and I can't wait to find out more about what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Sanka. Thanks for the opportunity to come share with your network. It's been fantastic.